Here we are. Well, welcome to another edition of Quantum Realms 2022. And Pamela and I got started talking right away. And I said, wait. I'm going to record because what you're getting ready to tell me sounds important or significant. Hi, dear Pamela. I sure have missed you.
Yeah, I've missed you too. And there's probably nothing I wouldn't say personally. Publicly, that's just how I am. And I noticed that's today's theme. And when we're working in our integrity and power and truth, that's been a theme for me is I'm looking at culture. I'm looking at conditions in society. Conditioning is a better word. And I was just explaining to you before we began about that, and you said, let's go live and talk about it. So I had a dream a couple of days ago, and I'm shook. Is that a word? Shook. I'm shook.
In the Midwest, it's a word, so I'm going to say it is.
I was, to be grammatically appropriate, shaken, whatever, shaken. And I realized that not just me, but I was given it as an example of myself, but through a bunch of other of my friends as well. Close friends were in my dream. You were there as well. And I just hadn't had a chance to mention it, but, and I was giving examples of all of my closest friends, or friends, and then just the world in general. It was like the only way to get it through to me that we are being shaken right now. we're vibrating at a certain frequency that we're not used to. And I don't mean for this to sound woo-woo for those of you who aren't, but I am a spiritual teacher and that's my truth. So for what that looks like, even from the core of Earth, scientifically, we're experiencing a lot of earthquakes. We're experiencing a lot of unusual tsunami activities that sometimes may or may not become tsunami activities. We're experiencing volcanoes. We're experiencing earth changes that our Earth's geologists and environmental scientists are shaken about, as you should be. It's not fear, it's just science, This is an environmental message today. I'm not going to ask you all to go vegan. Don't worry. We're all good. Eat what you need to eat. Do what you need to do. But you can't go through that and not expect you at the core to be also shaken or shook. Is my word. I'm shook. So I had this dream, and it was along the theme of what your theme is with this program. And it was about our integrity, reclaiming our power, remembering our truth. And it was very, very personal. So I don't know exactly how much of it I want to share publicly, but I will say that I'm shook. It started like with me from childhood. It was like, wow, Pamela, you could see the insanity around you. From an early age, you knew that there was insanity in the conditions from culture, particularly religion, politics, familial culture, parenting, everything. And then you went to spirituality and you saw it there too. And you kind of keep going to places to try to find where it isn't, when what you need to do is teach about it, write about it, share all of the ways that you refuse to be inauthentic. Share all the ways that you refuse to hand over your truth. And simultaneously, you're not fighting. It's not a propaganda. You haven't joined a political group. I'll offend some people today. I can feel it already. But Dolores was just kind of there in the background, her spirit. I need to legally these days, I have to always say that I am not affiliated with the Cannon team, nor have I ever worked with them or had any representation of the Cannon team, nor have I ever known Dolores Cannon in person, ever. I am a medium and I speak to dead people. Does that make it clear? Good. Please stop sending me letters. Okay, now that we're done with that, sorry. Just got another one a month ago. So just a medium making a living.
Yeah.
Go fuck off. Sorry. You can delete that.
I'll put a beep.
Bleep it out. So in light of me honoring my truth, I realized that where I struggle in this theme of integrity and truth and power, and the dream that I had 2 days ago showed me that I'm quick to question myself. And I'm quick to, even when I know truth, I'm quick to discount my power. Gracie, no way. Just no.
I put her out, but I'm going shopping, so she's gonna.
Put her in Eli's room.
Oh Jesus. Okay. Gracie, it's come to this now. It's come to this. We're on sabbatical for an hour.
So I've got other people's truth just scratching at me. My cat was doing that just now. Everything is a reflection of it. Everybody's going, but you honor my truth. You honor you. I'm honoring my truth, and they're throwing truth around like spaghetti and trying to let it stick to a wall and going, see, it stuck. And I'm like, yeah, insanity's sticky. It sticks. Culture's sticky, and it's insane. And I look around me at the world today and I just go, wow, I'm glad I know who I am. Even when it really, people don't like it, I am so happy that I have that blessed gift of knowing who I am.
You know, what's really strange, what I'm finding a lot too, is when you're put in the position of having conversations. It can be just about anything. You know, what's hot topic in the news, or just whatever's going on. And you might find yourself saying something, and it's what's really funny that I find is very often people around, they almost insist that you have to take either this side, or team A or team B. And if you say anything that makes it seem like you're not on team A, they'll say, oh, you must be on team B. And it's like, I'm not on either one of those ridiculous teams. So just stop it. And that's when, like, the blank stares show up. Like, there's this inability for a large swath of the population to even begin to comprehend that you can't step out of that. It's like, no, it's not either one. It's neither of those things.
Right. So can I tell you more about the dream? It may make a lot more sense. What you just
Please.
said is a big theme of it. I was with one of my friends who I know she wouldn't give a darn if I share it. And she, her name is Steph, and she was struggling with family things, and there was my friend Steph is the epitome of authenticity. Okay. But she's not great at asking for help. And that's my mirror. I am horrendous at asking for help, just absurd with asking for help. If you know me, you can feel it and you know when to reach out, and I may or may not ask. So basically, a lot of my friends just have to say, you know what, I'm doing this. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it's time. Yeah. Right. So the dream was a little bit about that, between us, me not asking for help and her not asking for help, and our commonalities. And some of it was she in the desire so strongly to be a mom, she had completely given up who she was. And the kids were completely taking advantage of it, and they knew it. As teenagers do. Teenagers, they're beautiful and they're little babies, and they kind of grow claws later and fangs and stuff. I mean, moms, I'm talking about. Your kids just like grow fangs in those years. And she and I are raising teenagers right now, and we tend to vent about it with each other. And the dream was showing even how parenting, the whole concept of how she and I both have a similar parenting style, and the whole concept of how we parent our kids is so conditioned. The schools are up both of our butts right now, and all these sort of things were happening. Like, both of our kids decided they were just going to quit school at the same time, like never go back again. And the dream was about that. It was, and simultaneously, we both made the decision to just let it happen. We were like, you know what? We're tired of it. We're tired of forcing you to do something you want to do. And if we end up in court because of it, we end up in court because of it. So strangely enough, we found other programs and our kids ended up being in these kind of half homeschool, like go in every grade now and then, like once a week to take a test type of school. But most of your work you do in your home. And it made sense because is that the truth of the way that the world is going, that we don't need these same paradigms, whether it be education or marital paradigms with certain roles or parenting paradigms with what we think our kids should be and should do. I didn't even really have a paradigm about it. I was just like, well, darn, I'm going to get in trouble if you guys don't do this, and I really don't have time to go to court this month. So you're going to do it. So there was that part of the dream, and there was various little ways that the universe was weaving this theme of a culture that is no longer sick, but is also not quite well. A collective of us experiencing these paradigms that are, it's like we've been removed from them, and that these paradigms have been taken from us, whether they be conditions from education or religious culture or parenting or whatever, or, relationship paradigms are shifting, sexuality paradigms are shifting, right? We no longer get to identify ourselves as bodies because it's not the truth of who we are. We're not bodies. We're not a gender. So many powerful things are happening. As a bisexual woman, I just kind of went, okay, my paradigm I never even had one. I just love people. I don't, and it has nothing to do with my identity. I don't care if you think I'm a male. I don't care if you think I'm a female. But so many people utilize all of these beautiful middle way rebirthing concepts. And that's the best way I could put it. This middle ground concept of, you know what, I'm not what you say I am. But simultaneously, the dream showed me also that we still don't quite know the power in sticking to our truth and being who we are. And some of us don't even know fully who we are yet. And that's okay. And that whole awkward journey. So it's sort of like, spiritually speaking, the human conscious collective is in their teenager years. It's an awkward space. Like we're an adult, my kids are growing like facial hair. Some of them are getting a little stinky, right? Truth is sometimes that way, it's a little bit like that. And that we're just in this awkward stage collectively, and the dream showed me very specific percentages of like, I said, well, how many people are awake? And my higher self said, the word doesn't apply anymore. Doesn't matter that you're awake. 47%, almost 50% of you are awakened to just the fact that what your truth is not what's out there. And that something about Earth isn't quite, these cultures aren't who you are. You're awakened to that, but that's not enough. You need to be aware. You need to know what to do with it. You need to know how to serve and be served. And as you're awakening to this new awareness concept of loving yourself and others, being in your own little galaxy of light along with other stars who are shining equally to you, not above you or below you, but equally to you. It was such a beautiful dream because I saw light workers working together, not just trying to fight over who does what on social media. I saw a lot of more colleague type of, people with very different opinions and theories and concepts and modalities coming together for a common cause. And that common cause was Earth. It was Earth. It was saving this planet, because if we don't have that, got nothing else to work on, people. Got nothing else to work on. So that was a big part of that is, well, I guess we better become aware of ourselves and our truths and our power, because Earth is showing some signs, and again, this is not me being an advocate of any kind I'm not trying to get you to join an environmental coalition. I'm just trying to share with you that that's the intuitive part of what I do, is showing me, along with science, is showing me and you that the earth changes are worsening. And as we approach that, not with fear, just simple awareness of our unity and what we can do together, in every way, mentally, physically, emotionally, in every way to support each other is going to be important this year and next.
I've been thinking a lot. It's interesting that you're talking about your teenagers and us being a teenager collectively. And I've thought a lot, very much along the same lines that you were talking this morning, thinking, my gosh, I'm so glad I know who I am in terms of some decisions to make for myself and my family. I'm just very, very clear about some of that. And I thought, though, about people who are younger, and I thought about myself when I was younger, and I felt a great sense of relief that I'm not a malleable younger person these days. We all sort of become more aware different times in our life. I don't doubt that you were quite aware earlier on. I certainly had my swaths of what is that about? And this makes absolutely no sense. A lot of those kinds of things in my life that have stayed with me this whole time, but some more societal constructs, they're just, it's like cracks in the walls and things falling out of buildings for a while. But now, whole foundations and whole floors are hitting the street level. And, and I'm sort of watching that, and I think about the younger people or the people. How do we support them? How do we support them without seeming, judgmental or condescending? So much like, yeah, I kind of used to be like you and sort of believe some of this stuff that I see that you are taking in as big T truth, and maybe there's other ways to think about it. But then again, so often that can be a confrontation and completely not wanted, and they need to go through that. But how do you help people deal with that, especially if it's in their own family? What do you suggest to people?
If it's in their own family, listen. Listening is a lost art. You're not going to change that person's mind. If you would like for them to experience the very palpable, powerful energy that is grace, you have to show them that energy. It cannot be spoken. It cannot be taught. You can teach in and around it, about it, and walk yourself in circles 1,000 different ways, and they're not going to know what you're talking about. They're just not going to know. So the answer is presence. The answer is presence, and that takes grace. That takes taking that ego and putting it over here. I was just having this conversation with a loved one this morning. I felt that in these times, I'm grateful for my intellect and the capacity to write and to teach and to be articulate as a human being. However, I find that intellect can get in my way. In these particular times, intellect needs to be pushed to the side because, if I'm talking about my family and teenagers in particular, they're not going to give any darn about my intellect and what has happened to me. They'll say, Mom, you're old. The world is different now. And it's my opportunity to step in and say, really, how? Show me, how is it different? It's not an opportunity to say, well, this is what I would have done. And this is how it worked for me in high school and in relationships and university and parenting, because even the way as a parent right now, I can say that the standard modality that's here right now that people continue to perpetuate and repeat is not working. And our kids are evidencing that. Our children are evidencing that. The suicide rates, unfortunately, in young children, boys in particular, in my state, is very, very high in the state of Colorado. Not just my state, but around the world, those rates are increasing. And it's because the outdated paradigm that we, not just you, me, I'm not pointing fingers, we together didn't know any better. So now we do. And even though we don't quite know what that looks like yet, I haven't gotten a vision about exactly what that looks like. Whenever my intellect tries to kind of dig in there and say, like when they were babies, I'm like, oh, it's attachment parenting. And I wore them all in slings, and they, no offense to anyone, I think it's beautiful. I did it. Cloth diapers, and, the feet barely touch the ground. And then I realized I'm not sure how my kids are going to survive in the world without me. So that's not working anymore. At some point in parenting, I realized I had raised completely codependent children. And I had to be truthful enough to say that on air to you. Are you willing to just reveal those parts of yourself, those vulnerable parts of yourself? Because if you're not, then we're all just walking around in the intellect bubble together going, well, here's my way, here's what works for me. And we sound like our grandparents, and they're beautiful. I love the elders. I love to listen. It's not quite my way. And then there's some times when I get stuck in my way, when I need to listen to my elders and look at that and go, wow, maybe I could stand to tweak a few things, right? Well, parents, could you stand to look at your teenagers and maybe tweak a few things about your ways, about your parenting techniques, about the way that you see your child, the way that you see their struggles? Listening and presence would be my answer.
One of the things that I've been thinking about as well, and you and I can, we have such a history on this. It may seem like I'm going off track here, but I'm really not. I was still thinking about this theme of integrity, power, and truth. And you're talking about the intellect. And then, so, it's so much is about emotions, of course, these days, emotions, and then the intellect. But I have this, and I think I always have, this profound curiosity about how my physical body is reacting to all of it, and and there's no mystery why a predominance of my own clients have some of those same issues, because you and I both know that's the way that works. We kind of attract people like that. But it's really starting to dawn on me too, when you're talking about humanity being in this awkward stage. I think our bodies are kind of in an awkward stage right now. And I'm watching some stuff, and of course, always right here first. Right here first. And when you were using the word core, at our core, and I'm like, my core is physically expanding and demonstrating some of this sort of wild fluctuation stuff. And is not quite ready to settle down. And do you have any thoughts on that, on our all these different parts of ourselves, which of course all meld to make our day and our life and our world? But do you have any thoughts about that physically? Because I know you came into the world very physically focused with some very specific challenges, as I did too. But has that changed for you? And in some of your thinking, what are you thinking about the physicality as it pertains to all of this?
I'm going to talk about some extreme ways of how society has looked at that, and extremism in spirituality. And I'm going to talk about the opposite, like no extremism, it doesn't mean anything, that theory as well. But what's more important to me is finding the middle way in these concepts, as we are more gentle with our bodies. As we also understand that our emotions and spirituality aren't absolutely 100% everything to realizing who we are. That our emotions can also lead us astray very quickly, very, very quickly. But when it comes to the physical core, the only thing that the physical body is doing is measuring energy. It's a measurement device. It's a barometer for your truth.
Barometer, that's exactly what this one was saying to me. She said the exact word.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, earlier this morning, she's like, Candace, you just have this highly sensitive barometer, and you have it not only for your own self, for your family members, for each one of your animals, for all of that, but for society and humanity as a whole. And so no wonder, fill in the blank, no wonder.
Yes. That's absolutely spot on with where I'm going as well. That aligns with what I'm saying. And I've got to go back to just what the body is. It's a barometer. It's a measuring device. For what? Well, in original concept, it was for our thoughts and how that translated into our emotions, how that translated into our thought patterns and belief systems. But then what the spiritual paradigm did was they took that straight into a Louise Hay book and said, and now fix me.
Right.
Which, by the way, I bless her in her grave. I love her work. It was for that era. This is a new era, light workers.
Yes.
Okay, it was a beautiful work for the era, much like how ACIM turned into a course of love, and Oneness did the same thing. They were like, oh, the body's not useful at all. And now they're turning around going, actually, it might be really good to use the body. I'm like, yeah, if it's not useful, you do that thing called death, and many yogis realize that too, because they would say, oh, you're not a body, you're not a body. So just meditate all day. You don't have to worry about anything, and that's why we don't have gurus on mountains anymore. Or if they do, they just stay up there. They don't come down and rejoin society, right? So if you would like to be a part of this creative, dualistic, beautiful world, your body needs to be well cared for, light workers. So let's just start there. This outdated paradigm of if your body's breaking, it means something. It's a reflection and a measuring device for something you've done wrong that you need to fix in your belief system and emotional patterns. No, just bury that, please. Throw that hatchet in the grave and bury it. It's so shameful. It makes you feel bad. So this is your barometer for truth when it comes to spiritual modalities. Does it make you feel bad? The end. It doesn't mean it's a right modality, a wrong modality, good modality, bad modality. It just means it's not for you. This is why we create literally millions of modalities on this planet to find the unique modality that is for us individually in our creative, beautiful, separate journey. This is a journey of pretend separation. And, that's a oneness term. So we know from the oneness text that we're in a dualistic environment. And even though it's not true, that we're pretending that it's true so that we can enjoy something different. So if we go too much into oneness, nothing is different. Nothing is creative. Everything's the same. Not that that's beautiful, but why are you here? Go be dead. Go be a spirit. Go back to the angels, right? You want to go be fifth dimensional? It's not on this earth. Sorry. You want to be special is what you're truly looking for. That's the truth, is that you're looking to be special. Like, I'm not trying to offend you guys. But how many of you, I'm a mentor, so I teach spiritual development. How many of you come to me and say, could you just validate that I actually was Jesus in another lifetime? Can you validate that I was Jesus's daughter, or that I was Mary Magdalene, or that I was this, or that I was that? We've all been there, done that to a certain degree of needing to understand our Akash and needing to integrate that to make sense of who we are, why we have certain characteristics and certain talents, and when we're being mean to ourselves, what we judge as a weakness, right? We all need that, right? Okay. And modalities are meant to be broken. So when you find a modality that's good for you, use it like a raft and then get off of it and go to the other side. Use it like a raft until you don't need any more. This is one of the things why Dolores in Spirit channeled through to me. This is why I said, come to me for one and then go, right? Well, it's a little bit different these days. These days, we need a lot more time. But when that time is up, let that time be up. Let your facilitator go. Let your teacher go. They're meant to teach you. You have a teacher. She's meant to teach you to teach or lead or heal or whatever she's meant to do. And then become friends. Say bye-bye. Go fly out of the nest. You guys are in the nest with your little, with your little toes dipping out of the nest going, do I really have wings? And you're flipping them around and testing them out. And you're like, last time I tried this, I just fell flat on my butt, ran into a tree. Another bird ate me, whatever it was. But you're in the nest pretending that you're not a bird, which is an entirely different story. You are meant to fly. You are born with metaphoric wings to be free, but you're like a bird with the cage door open going, I like my cage, close it, it's safer in here. And that was the biggest part of the dream, is that people sitting there with cage doors open and I could see their wings growing and feathers on their backs. And they were just like no, I don't know. I don't know.
So many parallels with what you're talking about. I see that in society. Years and years ago, I had a dream, a marvelous dream, where I came up onto my husband and he had this magnificent horse, a horse that wasn't in our pasture, a horse I didn't know, this big, black, beautiful Andalusian kind of, or Frisian kind of horse with flowing black manes and tails. And he had a bridle on, and one of the bridles have like a lot of different kinds of bridles. Some are very plain, Western or Indian, just a single rope. And others in dressage have 2 or even 3 sets of reins with different things. And this ridiculous thing that was on this horse's head had like 6 different sets of reins coming off of it. And Tom was on this horse, and I'm shocked, and I'm not really realizing this is a dream at the time. And I'm shocked that he's on a horse, and he's got his hands and he's trying to manipulate all of these reins, right? And I'm watching him and the horses, because Tom's sort of manhandling all the reins. The horse is kind of not knowing all of that, but he's telling me to get on. Tom's like, get on. And this dream has stayed with me for so many years. And I get on, and he's still struggling with the reins. And and I'm behind him, still thinking how weird this is, because I'm the horse person. He doesn't get on horses hardly ever. And he's riding this horse, and I'm watching him struggle, and I'm whispering in his ears to just let go, just let go of those reins, and the horse knows what to do. The horse knows what to do. We'll be fine. Just stop trying to control all of this. And as soon as he drops all of the reins, all of the control things, the horse just goes, and then we go very smoothly along with the flow of the horse. And this was, Pamela, this was years before I even ended up where I am now, which is, I'm talking about my office in town that's got, it's this brick building, this old brick building. And we came to this, look kind of like a brick barn, and the horse took us to the front part of this door, and I opened up the door, and it's all brick. And inside this entire big space was all of these birds in cages hanging, like, different, like the beautiful old wooden cages and all of that. And and all we didn't say anything to each other, Tom and I, but we got off the horse, who stood right by the door, and we went into the building and just opened up the door to each one of the cages. But only a few of the birds flew out immediately. Most of the others weren't sure, and some of them didn't even realize the door was open. They couldn't even see that. And as you were talking, that dream came flooding back to me. And it's just a beautiful symbolic representation of kind of where we are. And I love it. I feel that way myself. Well, I'm here to hopefully open up the door to these, help you see that see that the door isn't even locked. It's just sitting to, and you could just push it out and come on out when you're ready. But yeah, a lot of them weren't ready. But to this day, I have a couple of bird cages hanging in that space, but with the doors wide open, and a couple of felt birds or whatever that, like, my daughter made on the outside, right on the outside of the cage.
Nice. Are they red ones?
They absolutely are red.
I was just seeing the vision and going, oh, is that right? I love it.
Of course they are. Yeah, it was the bird and the birds. So indicative of so many messages in the birds and in the freedom. And oh, it's so good to hear that you are feeling, seeing, sensing what I am as well. How about some of the practical things that we, there's always the traditional practical things, removing yourself from technology, going out into nature and doing all of that. But has anything shifted at all? Do you find that you're giving any kind of new advice? Are there any new realizations that
Yeah.
you've come up with as far as physicality and all of this? Do tell.
Well, I find that nature is actually reflecting what's happening in our body and affecting it, and we are reflecting what's happening in nature. We can no longer pretend so much about the separation game, that we're so separate and thereby kind of cut off or alone or lost in the world, or that we can't pretend anymore. You know, that the whole thing about awakening initially was, I'm not sure that I belong here. Well, of course you don't belong in the insane paradigms and cultures and conditions that society has to offer, because it's insane. So great, you're aware of that, you're awakening to that, but now what? Now what is the deepest question? And when we don't deal with that question, when we don't ask questions to what we call God, source, universe, spirit, higher self, subconscious, whatever you want to call it, when you inquire, when you ask questions and you don't stop asking questions, that's when the truth will reveal itself. But initially, when it does reveal itself, it feels weird in the body. Your throat starts to close up. You get hot, you get cold, you break out in hives. Your hair falls out. That was one of my recent ones that, so many things. When it's there and you see it and then you go, I'm too busy for that. I don't know what to do with that, or I will do with that later. Those are the three things that we say. I'm too busy. I don't know what to do, and don't know what to do. It's a little bit busy. Then I'll deal with it later. The third thing we say to ourselves, because when we say we don't know what to do, we are relying upon intellect and knowing as the ultimate key to that cage. And it's not true. I'm a highly intellectual person at times, so I'm not deflating the value of a brilliant mind. I have a kid who is of genius variety, and he's my most difficult kid. It just goes to figure to, in a certain sense, that intellect can be used wisely. It can be used falsely and painfully, or it cannot be used at all. So when you say, I don't know what to do, and then you don't ask questions and you don't say, I want to know what to do, show me what to do. Show me my truth. That is just like opening the door, but not climbing out of the cage in our former analogy of this being the bird inside of a trapped cage. Open the door and just sitting there. Well, okay. Of course, you don't know really that you can fly. You've thought about it. You've dreamt about it. You feel it in your body, but you're just not doing it. Great. Ask how. It's okay to keep asking questions and you're not going to rely upon your intellect to get the answer. That's not where grace is. That's not where we're going. However, much like Candace's dream here, you're going to, I can't say you're going to do it. You're not the doer in grace. But I will say that when you do let go while you're asking questions deeply to higher self, source, God, whatever your belief system is, some people call that prayer. I find the word prayer to be kind of like saying you're God's consultant, so I don't do it. I like meditation and inquiry because I am in my sacred humility about that. I'm aware that I'm a component of God, and I'm aware that I'm not God. I think it was Ram Dass. I love that yogi who said, it's no problem in society when we awaken to who we are. But then people start saying, I'm Jesus. Great. But then you start telling other people that they're not, right? That's the second thing that happens. And they don't take well to that in our world. So we all get to be special, right? We all get to honor our sacredness. And we all understand that we're kind of bored of being special. So what is one of the things that really struck me this year when I teach channeling? And channeling, you have to realize your specialness to a certain degree and then let it go. You have to realize that you can do it until you realize that it was never you all along.
Yeah.
These days, if I say that I'm channeling someone, I get a little strike on my YouTube and a little letter in the mail that says, right? And I'm like, hey, hey, God, what's that about? And that still small voice was like, Yeah, channeling's a lie. Everybody is what they are trying to connect to, and you are one with it. You are her. You are her now. Get it, deny it, whatever you want to do. Do the work you want to do or not do her work, or do you want to do it, whatever you want to call it, but you are her. Get through it, and guess what? So are many other people. Right? Don't make it special. So are many other people, not exactly in the way you are, but in their own way. And that's why I stopped channeling her, because I realized it was too much separation for me. And then the reflection of the world just showed it back. They're like, you own it, and you own the work, or you don't. Okay. I can't even. Right. But going back to the whole concept of mind, body, spirit, even that concept was too much separation for me at some point to play with. It's like, okay, so we got the mind, we got the conscious, got the subconscious, we got this degree of our emotions, which, by the way, is, and when our heart's open, it's wonderful. It's showing us something. But then we got ego emotions, and then we got this part of our physiology that's probably just happening based on essentially something in this part of our physiology that's because there's something that needs to be integrated. And by golly, I got exhausted with it. I don't know about you guys, but I just went, I'm not there anymore, guys. I am not there anymore. Come sit before me. I will do a regression with you. You know, I will follow whatever modality you want me to follow. And it's going to lead to the same place anyway, back to you, me holding a space for you to be sacred, for you to reclaim your power. Because we're sitting here, we've got all our power, but we've like holding it inside the cage going, I'm just going to stay in here with it. I know who I am now, but I'm just going to stay in here with it.
So much of, I think it's like society, of course, wants us to be in cages, and they want us to be in cubicles. You know, a huge thing came crashing down on me when I really realized that all those desks in a line, all those, square or rectangular desks in a line were so much just like, cubicles in offices and automatons and this idea that you were talking too about asking questions. Have you noticed that you can't even really ask questions sometimes these days? Asking a question presupposes a stance, or even like is considered picking a fight anymore. If you ask a question, it used to be that you could sort of ask questions. And so I think this is really interesting about, asking how to have better peace or more grace in your life. But of course, not asking an expert or asking outside of yourself, but asking within yourself. And I know there's legions of people who are listening right now, and they're like, but I can't hear myself, but I can't hear my higher self, but I don't hear anything. And that's why I'm going to other people. So what do you say when that question's asked?
You can. It's you. It's your thoughts, your emotions, your personality, your mindset, your body that you're hearing and feeling it in. It may not be coming in words and in phrases and in flashy clairvoyant downloads inside of your mind. Or if it does, you'll just say, I made that up. That was a daydream. Right? But here's the new paradigm. Here's the baby that's being birthed. Please don't throw it out of the bathwater. Okay? Take it out and nurture it. Here's what's happening. You are that. Remember when the beautiful yogis, many yogis follow me, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj said, I am that. And I am that. And I am. Right. And then people got rid of the that for a while because they were all in their oneness teachings. And now it's everything and nothing, just that unnameable, unmentioned grace of everything that doesn't require a word, a language, a phrase, a disposition, elaboration, explanation, blah, blah. Right. So I found this mantra that I use a lot that I get super excited about. I have to just tame the mind because I get so excited about sharing with you that changed my life. And it is, and I'm going to let you guys guess. Candace, you too, if you can guess who gave me this mantra, but you should be able to feel it. I ask for only the whole truth to be revealed to me. I ask for nothing but truth, peace, and love to be revealed to me now. It's Jesus. When I use that inquiry, it's not even a mantra. We formulate definitions for things. But whatever we've got going on in the back script of our mind, this calms it down. And if it's fear, it brings it to love. If it's shame, it brings it to power. If it's anger, it brings it to freedom. It takes whatever you're dealing with and it makes it you. And that doesn't always feel good. Sometimes what you get revealed is, holy cow, I'm the one in the wrong right now. Holy cow, I shamed someone right now unintentionally, and I need to go ask forgiveness. I was misunderstood and then unintentionally shamed someone. That's my biggest thing lately, and I need to go say, hey, I think I was taken the wrong way. And I'm sorry that whatever I said it hurt you, and I didn't mean it. Right? That the sacred humility. That's what that is. And if we could have that without diminishing or demolishing our light, that's the key in this modern era. This is the baby that's being born, is having that sacred humility and standing in our power. You taught me this a long time ago, because Candace, you did, when I used to be a fan of certain language. And when I was in shame, I would say, but, and you said, Pamela, have you ever thought of using the word and? And I couldn't quite figure out why at the time. I'm like, it feels the same to me. But then I observe how other people react when I use the word but after something. It feels like I'm demolishing them. And I completely didn't realize it because my heart's not there, and not at all. I believe in uplifting people, and I didn't even see how that could possibly be taken the wrong way. So a lot of times language has a certain accumulated karma, yogis, accumulated karma from generation to generation that we're passing down. And you may not be intending to say certain things, right? And then it comes across that way. So we're separating shame consciousness out of our power is a big theme. That's where I'm ultimately going with that statement.
Kind of comes full circle around to how you almost start talking back to this whole idea of being authentic, and I think sometimes people might equate, well, if I demonstrate my authenticity, that's probably going to carry some shame in it somewhere. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people, it's almost like a nakedness, of course, right? Where that shame's wrapped up into that. If I'm very, very authentic, I'm really, really vulnerable.
Yeah, when I first started exploring that word, I believe it was a good while ago, around 2015, a lot of my clients were following a teacher who had named herself as an authenticity leader. And I kind of was just observing this whole thing happening where people were taking the word authenticity and using it as a weapon.
Oh gosh.
It was, they'd say something really crappy and then say, but I'm just being authentic. How do you do that? I'm just telling the truth.
Sure.
Well, in the dream that I have, and I'm a prophet, that's what I do. I prophesy where the world is going. And unfortunately, whatever, and sometimes for the benefit of society, but recently for both benefit and detriment, it's been accurate. So in prophecy, we get dreams, and initially the beings will come and share something that relates to us personally, but then they'll share everything about the world, right? And the state of everyone. And they'll give you little metaphors with people that you know, but then once you can handle it and you know what it is, your dreams get deeper. So if you're having those dreams right now, by the way, You're having those dreams. It's the time of the dreaming. It's what Dolores called it just this morning. She says, the time of the dreaming. Don't forget to share that in spirit, people, not in person. I'm not affiliated. So it's even shameful that I have to even back that up by everything I have to say these days. So I got to go integrate that shame later, because I could feel it still being there. But regardless, like this whole concept of releasing shame from things and understanding that authenticity is just a statement of where you are, not who you are, not what you are, but where you are and how you're expressing that unique state of beingness. It's not who you are. It's not your state of being, but it's your state of beingness, because people feel it around you. And whether you're saying it or not, if you want to be in your truth, it might be good to find a way to communicate in whatever your language is. What I'm learning right now is that my language has to do with words of affirmation. I'm a vocal person. Not everybody else around me is. I have some people that just say, can you please just shut up for a minute? We totally just, I'm like, what? That does not compute. Right? But I have to take that because it's not their language. And I'm just throwing my love language at them, just going, but I can't, but I have to show I have to, right. And like throwing my love at them, but it's so powerful and so true to me, but to other people sometimes it looks like I'm like got like a whip and just coming at them with it or something. You know what I mean? They don't feel it the way I'm intending it. So being aware of that merging of consciousness in each other's spiritual language, in our body language and needs, in our love language, in our hearts. That's so important right now as the definition of authenticity is transforming. These are beautiful and auspicious times. This is some of the most beautiful times I've ever lived in all my memories of lives.
And it's hard. It's kind of hard for us to see sometimes because we're in it, and it's hard, and it's I started out, you asked me how I was and I said tired, and you just looked at me like, yes. And it's kind of tiring, but I'm so with you there. These are going to be the times that we, from whatever perspective we end up having, either in the short or very long term, we're going to look back on this time and we're going to be in awe of ourselves. We really are. We are going to be in awe of what we tried to do, the struggles we had, the yearnings we had. And, so many people just want it to be over or it to go away or it or whatever. And really, no, you really don't. We're here for this. We're here for this. And yes, it is hard. It is hard, but this is what we're here for, and sort of figuring it out as part of what we're here for too. It's kind of like being in the middle of a great big puzzle or a great big mystery or something, and then having somebody give you the last page of just, oh, it's hard here. I'm just going to do there, your puzzle's done. You feel better now? And you'd be like, no, I've been working on that for ages. And then you just did it like that. So we really don't want that, even though sometimes I think we do.
Yeah.
You've expressed that beautifully. Pamela, as we come up kind of on the last 10 minutes or so that we've got together here, you use the term vocal. And I know that, you've always, with your voice, given to humanity. Please tell me what you're working on now in that part of your world, and what your projects are, and what are you doing?
It was a lot, and then I scaled it down. I found that in learning how to be authentic to myself, it may be easy for me to be authentic with you and the world at large. I have no problem with anything that anyone thinks about me ever. Right. And of course, I love you, trust my friends. But when it comes to being authentic with myself, that was kind of a big deal this year, because I found that in the reclamation of remembering who I am and my power, I wanted to share it. I wanted you to feel that power. I wanted you to feel it in a way that if I could shine a light on someone that feels like they're in the dark, then their light brightens up. If I could pass a candle, light another candle, and that candle is right there shining, great, right? And then as an empath, because that's dominantly the way that I operate, I'm a channel and a medium, and I work with clairsentience. That's called clear feeling. I'm also clairvoyant. So I see it outside and inside of myself, and I feel it very, very palpably, emotionally, physically, temperature wise in my body, everything. So I was just throwing myself at you. I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on with YouTube algorithm or social media or what's going on, but you don't see it. So I'm like, well, okay, that's some of the most beautiful work that I have ever done with my voice. And you didn't get a chance to see it. Like literally not, it's not, you didn't like it. Like you literally didn't see it. Right. Like the social media just didn't show it to you. I don't know what happened with my algorithm. So I sat with that and went, well, okay, well, I did change everything from channeling to some teachings here and there. Channelings are still always there, of course, but mainly I just teach people these days and channel whenever I want to. I love teaching better, honestly. So then I started doing music, but then it messed with my algorithm. So I thought, okay, well, I messed my own algorithm by making it a music channel as well. Understandable. This is my intellectual mind trying to make sense of it, right?
Uh-huh.
So then I thought, well, I was initiated into plant medicine. I'm going to throw that at the world. So I threw that at the world for a while. Crickets. I'm a powerful pet communicator. I'm really great with animals. So I threw that at the world. Crickets. You see the theme? Don't let that stop you, but are you dividing your light is what Dolores said to me right after the dream. In spirit, when I connected as a medium, her spirit said, are you dividing your light? You either want a big laser and you shine that out to the world, or you divide it and you become a laser show and people go, ooh, laser show, and then they go home. And by the way, they forget about it. So I'm like, but I'm a channel. I've got to do all these things. And she's like, yeah, no. You've got to do what you want to do. And you know what you want to do. And it was the first thing that you ever wanted to do. So use your channeling as an ability, utilize it. But what you really want to do in your teachings is reach a lot of people. And how you really like to do that is in writing. And you've told yourself all sorts of lies, like I can't support myself as a writer and people won't pay for it, or a publisher won't pick it up, or all these. I've got 4 kids and I don't have time. So many lies were coming up. So in the overall theme of this program with integrity, power, and truth, I had to really choose my truth. It wasn't just that I knew it. It was that I have to stick to it and I have to honor it. I have to stop dividing my truth and throwing all my eggs in 50 million different baskets. So right now I teach, I channel, I write. That's the basket, right? So I put aside all those other things, animal communication, all those sort of things, and I just teach and channel and write and teach and channel and write. That's it.
I love that. And I'm feeling Dolores giggle here because I'm sensing she's like, this is some of what connects us, this writing thing. And I've said the same thing too. I'm taking care of my dad. I'm taking care of my husband. I'm taking care of the farm. I'm taking care of my community, taking care of my classes. When am I supposed to write? And, bit by bit, you just get up and you just do it. And then suddenly there it is. And it's
right.
It's just, you do everything else bit by bit. You're going to do that bit by bit too. And interestingly enough, I find I do a lot of it. I share it. I don't like so much of my offerings with writing are shared publicly. I just need to collect them all and sort of coalesce them.
You already have them.
And sort of polish them up. It's not that I'm not writing. It's that I don't do it the way it's supposed to be done, which is lock yourself in a room and be quiet and have somebody give you a tray, every once in a while.
That's outdated though. She told me about that. She said, that's why these days we have editors. So I have so many people have come to me and said, when you're ready to write, hand it over. And I already know the person I'm going to ask. I just haven't done it. Like, she's just sitting there waiting on me to ask. There's like 2 or 3 people that I could ask, because then I go, well, I've got 3 people who should, like, that's another excuse. That's another lie. I knew from the get-go who it was going to be. So, and when I said I'm writing, she popped up on my Patreon and goes, well, yeah, I'm right here. Right. But then the next excuse was, well, she's writing her books right now, so I can't do that. Really? Does this sound familiar? Do you do this?
It does. And, I'm getting a real whoosh, a real influx of Dolores's energy right now. And, it was always about writing for her. Everything else kind of fed the writing, but it was always about the writing. Even her teachings were very streamlined, and her talks were, they were every once in a while, but her writing was like her breathing.
Yes.
And that's what it all boiled down to. And she was writing in notebooks when she was young. And I don't know, it's been a while since I've mentioned this, and I'm not even sure. I think she said it to us in a meeting, or maybe it was a lecture at some point, sometime. But she talked about how one of the most extraordinary days of her own life was when she learned that there was something, when she was very, very young, she learned there was something called a library card, and that she could take this tiny little card and go into a library, and they would actually give you books, and they wouldn't charge any money for it. And because that was a big, big deal when you were somebody who is, born in 1931, as Dolores was. And you could take home these books. And she started writing, and she started keeping long journals and diaries and notes. And she just sort of, honed her hand and honed her writing abilities, skills, communication, even when it was only to herself. And then she finally let it out with this outlet, which is, of course, connecting with all these other realms and all these other things. But it was always about the writing for her, always. Mm-hmm. I think that's beautiful. I feel very much like she's like hugging you and me, but like she's hugging both of us right now about this is where we intersect. I'm hearing her say the writing.
It makes sense. It's going to be interesting to see what that looks like in this world. And she did want me to not leave without sharing a message. So it is. The consciousness of life is light. The 3 ways to remember who you are light, law, and love. And that was for you specifically, Candace, but anyone who's listening today, you're asking for specifics. Is the feeling I'm getting behind what she's trying to share. Is you're asking. Yeah. She said it's the 3 laws, the 3 L's: the light, the law, the love. This is it to consciousness. That's your it, she said.
Well, that's beautiful. Those 3 words could take us a whole nother hour if we talked about them.
Probably. I mean, light, she said it's not, she's not trying to be woo-woo. She says this to me all the time. I'm not trying to be woo-woo. There's a science to this. And light is amping up. She said, faster than the speed of light. Pun intended is what she says. Yeah. Law, she means universal law. She means cosmic law. Not the laws that we in our minds make. And love is beyond relationship. She said it's beyond a human form or concept. But this is what makes consciousness.
Well, I love that. And I think it's a great way to wrap this up with a bow. This chat with you today, Pamela. My God, do I miss you? Truly, truly do. Thank you for spending time with me today and talking to us and our audience. When I think about integrity, power, and truth, you're right there. You're right there. One of the people that I know exemplify that, along with Dolores, and I love you.
I love you too.
All right. Well, let everyone know how they can find you.
You can find me with teachings and channelings on my YouTube channel. Just, go over there and look up Pamela Aaralyn. Or you can go to Patreon. I have a Patreon as well under my name. And then PamelaAaralyn.com. Those are the main places you can find me. I have pretty much all sorts of social media that I rarely play around with these days because writing is happening. And, when I do share something, it's typically about a class that's coming up or just a message coming through while I'm writing. So you'll see some stuff like that. And as you know, I absolutely adore Candace and the work that she is continuing and the work that she's starting. Dolores wanted me to make that clear to you. She likes what you're continuing in her lineage and in her work, but she likes the work you're starting as well, she says. I don't know what that means to you right now. But...
Yeah, I know what that means.
Okay.
It has to do with energy, but we'll talk about it. And well, I'll hold this thought. And
she said, I'll go back to what I said about light, law, and love. It's your answer to what you've been asking me recently.
Okay, well, that we'll apply that and get back to both of you probably.
Okay.
Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of Quantum Realms 2022. Thanks, everyone. Bye.